steps must be taken against it.
It's corrosive. It arrests the momentum of development, because what it does is that it sows sometimes seed of discord between the government and the governed, and also excites enmity between communities that should ordinarily live together in peace and harmony. And a number of people also take decisions based on such fake news without knowing that what they are premising their decision on is fake news. But I think the responsibility is for individual, greater responsibility for those of you who are professionals in the trade.
He urged individuals to desist from fake news as it can bring threats to the democratic process. Ogun State House of Assembly Committee on Public Accounts and Anti-Corruption, led by Honorable Musafiu Lamidi, has reconvened and continued with the consideration of the audit reports on the financial records of the State Agro-Services Corporation and State Agricultural Development Program, Ogtv, for the period of 2015 to 2019. The committee at the sit-in called on the management of the corporations to produce contract documentations for all contracts awarded, receipts of all financial transactions, and cost line approvals. Kalawole Osho's report is presented in this package.
Chairman Committee on Public Accounts and Anti-Corruption, Ogun State House of Assembly, Honorable Musafiu Lamidi, in company of other lawmakers, began the consideration of the audit reports for the 2015 to 2019 of ministries, departments and agencies at the Assembly Complex, Okemoson Abeokuta, with Agro Services Corporation, in continuation of the committee's efforts towards efficient and effective utilization to ensure value for government's scarce resources. The committee chairman urged the acting general manager of the corporation, Mr. Lanre Adeyinka, to provide the committee with all supporting documents, including that of the procurement of agricultural equipment and agricultural inputs done within the period under review. He further called for up-to-date asset register, minutes of meetings of the tenders board on all contracts awarded, all banks reconciliation and statements for the period under consideration to aid the workings of the committee, with an invitation to the former Director of Finance and Accounts in the corporation, who is now the Director of Finance in Osamka, Mr. Gbenga Dokpamu, to appear before the committee for further clarifications on the audit queries to the corporation. The lawmakers also observed a sharp decline in the revenue generated in 2015 and 2019, in spite of huge investment by the state government in the agricultural sector, calling for the clarifications on the sales of agricultural inputs, which had a decline in records. The chairman demanded explanations on other investments, incomes, aids from the corporation.
The committee observed that there was an increase in expenditure in 2018. We expect an increase in revenue in 2019 as a result of acquired additional resources. 1. Why was the revenue for 2019 smaller than that of 2018, despite the government's effort to invest in this sector? We want the asset register for the corporation for our perusal.
The House Committee also considered the audit report of the Ogun State Agricultural Development Agency, Ogtv, for the period under review.
The Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 has said that the compliance level of Nigerians will determine whether a fresh lockdown will be imposed amid the second wave of the pandemic. PTF National Coordinator Dr. Sani Aliyu stated this while meeting with journalists on Tuesday. Aliyu insisted that no decision has been made on a fresh lockdown. The federal government ordered a lockdown in March 2020 in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Lagos, and Ogun States for over 5 weeks during the first wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. It led to job losses as airlines, hotels, banks, among others, cut their workforce due to the crushing economic effect of the lockdown. Meanwhile, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, says the country is now reaching a critical level, adding that the hospital capacity will no longer be NIMC offices since December 14, 2020, when the federal government ordered telecommunications firms to disconnect telephone lines of subscribers who failed to link the NIN to their subscriber identification modules. No fewer than 164 million Nigerians whose telephone lines could be disconnected alarming rate of infection and death has forced the government to rethink the resumption date. Minister of Education Adamu said in Abuja that the resumption date will be reviewed. Chairman of PTF, Boss Mustafa, added that reopening of schools is among the causes of viral spike. He also identified reopening of businesses and religion centers as other causes. He also ordered its chapters in all tertiary institutions to set up COVID-19 task force teams to enforce all guidelines outlined by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 are observed and ensure safe reopening of schools. It had earlier been reported that ASU on December 24, 2020, conditionally suspended its 9-month-long strike after a lot of foot dragging by the union and the federal government. The Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 subsequently ordered schools to remain closed till January 18, 2021 to contain the spike in COVID. Nation, since the lockdown mechanism can no longer be a mitigating option in the face of present economic reality. The National Youth Service Corps has directed all its state coordinators, including the Federal Capital Territory, to ensure strict compliance with COVID-19 prevention and safety protocols ahead of camp reopening next week, Tuesday. The scheme will continue its 3 weeks orientation program for Batch B Stream 2 on 19th of January 2021, amidst increase in COVID-19 cases. Nigeria is among several countries battling the second wave of the virus. The NYSC said prospective corps members and camp officials Public Relations, NYSC, Mrs. Adenike Adeyemi. The DG commended the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 and the NCDC for recommending the safe reopening of the orientation camps nationwide. And still to come, federal government signs $1.96 billion rail line agreement with Nigeria Republic. More news and reports after this short break.
To watch us live on your mobile phone, go to Google Play Store for Android. Ogtv, the people's tele.
You're still watching OGTV News. As part of its promise to connect the whole country by rail, the federal government has signed a memorandum of understanding with a Portuguese-based company for the construction of $1.9 billion Kano-Maradi standard gauge railway lines, signing on behalf of the federal government. Minister of Transportation Rotimi Amechi
The rail project is not a standalone project. It is part of the greater Lagos Kano Maradi project, and it is also part of the greater West African community agreements towards expanding trade and transport.
Well, it's a decision, a strategic decision of the Nigerian government, and they
Universities, SANU, have commenced a 3-day national protest. The protests follow an earlier statement by the NASU General Secretary, Peters Adeyemi, and the SANU President, Muhammad Ibrahim, calling on all members and branches of universities and inter-university centers across the nation to embark on industrial action. The protesters in Abuja, comprising members others. They are also protesting the sharing formula of the 70 billion naira given the universities by the federal government. Members of the Joint Action Committee, made up of NASU and SANU, protest in Abuja, the nation's capital. They insist that the 75% and 25% sharing formula for the earned allowances does not favor their members. There has been a change of guard in the Oyo State Police Command with the deployment of Mrs. Ngozi Onodeko as the new Commissioner of Police. Onodeko takes over from Mr. Nwachukwu Inwonu. Onodeko is the first female to occupy that position in the state. A posting is at the instance of the Inspector General of Police, Muhammad Adamu. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency henceforth, anyone found with weapons in the public acting under the instruction of whosoever will be decisively dealt with to the full extent of the law. Commissioner of Police, Ogun State, Edward Ajogun, gave this warning while parading suspected cultists in Ijebu Area Command of the Nigeria Police in Ibeba, Ijebudi. Details in this package.
In the recent time, court clashes and other related crimes have been on the autism operations has restored calm to Ijebode area as two members of Eye confraternity were arrested while one lost his life after a gun duel with men of the force on 29th of December 2020.
Any person, cultist or not, found with weapon and displaying same weapon in the public or using same to maim, kill, attempt to maim, to kill, either on behalf of himself, any group of persons, being a politician, being a police officer like myself, being a soldier, being a federal safety, anybody found with gun within Ijebode and its environment. Indeed, in any part of the state, will be dealt with in the most decisive manner.
The suspects and the items recovered from them were then paraded before the pressmen. Some of the suspects confessed
Is this. This has given us the assurance. So I can assure you now that from ongoing now, there's calmness in the city.
The CP then took a tour of some of the flashpoints in Ijebu-Ode to have an on-the-spot assessment of the security situation.
Two suspected human traffickers have been apprehended at different locations in Abeokuta metropolis by Anti-Human Trafficking, Irregular Migration and Gender Unit of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, Ogun State Command. While briefing journalists at the command headquarters, Abeokuta, the Assistant Superintendent of Corps, G.K. Ogbonaya, said the suspect trafficked 3 siblings to a neighboring state where more than 100,000is a report that the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 on Tuesday said schools in the country will resume on January 18 until the Ministry of Education announces further directive. PTF National Coordinator Dr. Sani Ali squad for killing the adjutant of his unit, one Lieutenant Babakaka Ngoji. Madabuchi was arraigned for murder after shooting Lieutenant Ngoji in July 2020 at close range in Bama local government of Borno State for refusing to grant him a welfare pass. He was on Tuesday sentenced to death by firing squad after he was found guilty at the court session held at Maimalari Cantonment, Maiduguri. Some other 4 soldiers were arraigned for manslaughter and sentenced to various years of imprisonment. One of the soldiers, Sergeant San Ishaya, is sentenced to 4 years. Bidemi Fabiyi gets 2 years. Private Musa Bala and Private Abdul Rashid Adamu gets 1 year imprisonment each. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Yusuf Buratai, on Tuesday told war commanders at the different theaters of operations in the country not to lose their guard, but maintain momentum until terrorism, insurgency, and other high-level criminality are brought to zero levels. The Chief of Army Staff gave the charge shortly after he took the tour of the 44 Nigerian Army Reference Hospital, Kaduna, where he checked on the wounded soldiers who are currently receiving treatment at the facility. General Sagir Dole said he was impressed with the caliber of medical personnel and area of equipment available at the facility for immediate and post-treatment management of his wounded men and benefiting civilian populace. According to him, the Chief of Army Staff came in on a working visit to see the facilities that have been upgrading comprehensively at the 44 Nigerian Army Reference Hospital, Kaduna. The Chief of Army Staff also commissioned other projects at the headquarters of the 1 Division Nigerian Army, including the ultra-modern main gates, schools, and accommodation, as he commissioned the Accident and Emergency Ward at the 44 Nigerian Army Reference Hospital, Kaduna. Troops of the Operation Sahel Sanity based in Faskari, Katsina State, killed 10 bandits and lost 1 soldier in recent operations in various parts of the state. The acting director minor injuries during the encounter. Troops of the Operation Sahel Sanity based in Faskari, Katsina State, killed 10 bandits and lost 1 soldier in recent operations in various parts of the state. In business news, Corporate Affairs Commission generates 19 billion naira in 2020 fiscal year. More business news after this break. The federal government has set an aggressive revenue target of 7.9 trillion naira for the year 2021. It is expected that 30% of the total revenue from the oil sector and 70% from the non-oil sector. Finance Minister Zainab Ahmed stated this during a virtual budget breakdown. She noted that the 7.9 trillion revenue to the Consolidated Revenue Account of the federal government. The Registrar General, Corporate Affairs Commission, Garba Abubakar in Abuja, told journalists that the commission had also settled all its tax obligations, adding that the obligations were negotiated downward by the commission's management. Abubakar added that for the first time, they were able to pay operating surplus of over 2.7 billion naira to the federal government. On revenue generation, the Corporate Affairs Commission boss said the commission surpassed its 2020 target by about 1 billion naira. He said the feat was achieved after the commission blocked areas of leakage to its revenue generation drive. Owners of dormant accounts and unclaimed dividends have nothing to lose as they capital budget, and that the implementation of the capital budget will continue until March 31, 2020. She explained that the necessary approval to that effect had been received, indicating that both 2020 and 2021 budgets would run concurrently until the end of first quarter of the year. The minister disclosed that debt service gulped 3.27 trillion that aims to rejuvenate life in Africa's current desert landscapes, providing food security, jobs, and a reason for millions of Africans from Senegal to Djibouti to stay in the Sahel region. The forum took place in the margins of the One Planet Summit. Addressing the summit virtually from Abidjan, Additional informed delegates that the Great Green Wall is part of Africa's environmental defense system, a shield against the onslaughts of desertification and degradation. The future of the Sahel region depends on the Great Green Wall. Without the Great Green Wall, the Sahel region may disappear. Foreign news is next on our lineup. U.S. security officials have warned of possible armed protests being held across the country in the days before Joe Biden is sworn in as president. Also, Indonesian search teams have retrieved one of the two black boxes from the Boeing 737 plane that